All right, so I just thought I would take some time and I'm gonna drink a Red Bull. I'm gonna open this. I just woke up after a nap from work, so I'm just gonna take the time to talk about some of the movies that I watched on Halloween with my mom. We watched, I think, about 5 movies or so. One of them was Halloween 2018, which I think I've already talked about, so I won't really talk about that one. Um, but we watched Rear Window by Alfred Hitchcock, and I watched all these movies for the first time besides the Halloween one. We watched The Witches of Eastwick, that stars Cher. That's one of the reasons I watched that movie. We watched. I will talk about this Undertaker Netflix special, Choose Your Own Path, that movie, whatever that we watched, and that's it's really short, but I'll talk about that. And we watched some Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes. I thought I was going to watch a lot more, but we only watched 2 different episodes, but they were good. I might talk about those a little bit. But we watched the Halloween 2018, and then we watched a movie called Willy's Wonderland, starring Nicolas Cage. That's one of the most recent movies that we watched. It was made in 2020. And I bought that at Walmart a while back, not too long ago, a couple weeks ago or something. I didn't even know about it, and I found out about it on Amazon, and I added it to my wish list. And then I saw they were selling it at Walmart, so I was like, okay, I'll get that. We'll watch it on Halloween. And we watched The Babadook was the last movie that we watched, which is supposed to be one of the scariest movies of recent years. I think that's so. I'll talk about those 4 movies. I brought It Follows over. I was going to watch that, but I never did. I still haven't seen it. So, let's see. Let me take a drink here. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that we watched? We really crammed some in there. I mean, it was a day of watching movies. So, I'm just trying to think, is there anything really that I'm missing? Was there another one? Anyways, let's talk about Rear Window. I think that I've already discussed Vertigo and I discussed Psycho a little bit. I need to do more better reviews on Alfred Hitchcock's movies, but I was fortunate enough that someone got me this 5 disc set of his 5 of his greatest movies. It has The Birds, and it has Psycho, and it has Rear Window, and it has North by Northwest and Vertigo. And I seen The Birds in school a long time ago, and I like that movie. But then, I watched Psycho years ago, and then I watched Vertigo more recently. Turns out I think it's the greatest film of all time, Vertigo. Now, I remember telling that to somebody, and they said, wait until you see Rear Window, I think. And so I was really looking forward to seeing Rear Window. And I still have not watched North by Northwest yet, so that's going to be soon. Now, Hitchcock's known for making thrillers, suspense movies. They usually have revolve around murder or something. I mean, he's made over like 50 movies. So, I mean, I want to see, a lot more of his movies. I'd like to own a lot of them. I don't know if I'll ever watch every movie that he ever made. But the ones that he made that are really good are really some of the greatest movies of all time. Um, but yeah, The Birds is about, birds killing people and stuff. That's probably like the most horror Hitchcock movie that I know of. That's one of his most popular ones. Psycho is definitely kind of considered that, I guess. It has some, it involves a murder, but it's, yeah, I don't know if you'd say it's like a slasher movie, but it's definitely kind of in the horror genre. But they can be placed in thriller or different genres, whatever. Anyways, Rear Window, it involves a murder. So I thought, still for Halloween movies, it involves murder. So It's Hitchcock. So we watched that. I never sat and watched a Hitchcock movie with my mom yet, and I knew that he was an amazing filmmaker, and I wanted to watch one of his movies with my mom. And she was blown away by this movie too, and I was too. And I don't know that I'd say it was better than Vertigo, but it's definitely up there with it. I mean, it's hard to really even kind of grade his movies because they're just so far above any other movies. Vertigo, I mean, they both starred James Dean, and I don't know if the female role is the same or not, but I don't think so. But they both star James Dean, who's an amazing actor. And Hitchcock's film, the sound and the music is great. The story is usually really great. Vertigo is kind of a long, twisting plot that took you on all these different turns, and you didn't really know what's coming next. And it was just kind of unlike anything that I'd seen. And Rear Window, it all takes place basically in one setting, which makes it really cool because how it's pulled off. It's all basically about a guy looking out his window, watching other people in their apartments. It's back in the day, like in the summer, it's hot and everybody's got their windows open and stuff. This guy is wheelchair bound because like his leg is broken, and he has like a girlfriend, and he has like a maid or a nurse that comes and helps him. I guess a nurse, some kind of medical aid or whatever. But he's always watching these different neighbors, and he has one that's like a woman who's a ballerina dancer, and she's always dancing. And there's a musician, a guy who lives alone and plays the piano, and so there's couples, and these couples argue and stuff like that. So I'll talk about spoilers, and I'm going to be talking about the other movies, so I guess I feel like I kind of need to rush through this. But I will say it was a fantastic movie, maybe the best movie that we watched of the night. I mean, it's hard to beat a Hitchcock movie, but Rear Window, the detail and the cinematography, even my mom at the beginning said, sure it's like restored and everything, but she's just said like she's surprised how clear the video is and how detailed it is, like showing his sweat and stuff in the summer with the heat. And, that's right at the beginning, but like right at the beginning, you can feel like this is a great movie, like the way that it's made, the way that it's done. This is something special. And so you see like inside his apartment and his interactions, and you see, through his window, the other apartments. Well, he notices a couple arguing, and basically the woman is bedridden, this couple that's arguing, and then he notices like she disappears, and then like her husband's acting strange or whatever. And he started notices these things. He starts putting it together in his mind that she was murdered, basically. And he also has a buddy who was a detective or whatever, and he talks to him about it, and they try to put these things together. Well, it makes you kind of wonder, if he's right, or, if maybe, he thinks what he thinks that he has seen is wrong. And you wonder, it makes you wonder different things. Is he right or is he wrong? And I guess I feel like I should rush through this, but I won't spoil the ending or anything like that, I guess, but it's just a really good movie. So, I could go into more detail on it. I could do a review on its own, I guess, sometime. But just how the plot is pretty simple. It's easy to follow. It's not like Vertigo. I think where Vertigo was more extravagant and stuff in its plot. So, but the simplicity is amazing, how powerful and how simple it is, and how, there's like one setting and how he makes it work. And like there's music, in the movie, but there's like a guy playing piano. So like there can be piano music playing, and it kind of ties together. And it's just, I don't know. It's a pretty flawless movie, really. It's hard to like pick apart things that were bad about it or anything, because there isn't. Anyway. Rear Window is a fantastic movie. The next movie that we watched was The Witches of Eastwick starring Cher, which I think was the worst movie of the night. And that's not to say that it's a terrible movie. I've been thinking about it. This movie stars Cher. It stars, I think, Shelley Duvall, which I was wondering if she related to Robert Duvall. Was she his wife? I look that up, but I think it's Shelley Duvall. And Michelle Pfeiffer and Jack Nicholson. And these women all live together, and they're all single or whatever, and they wish that there was like some charming man that would move to their. And Jack Nicholson moves there, and he's like evil. He's like the devil or something, and he seduces each woman individually. And this movie has a lot of sexual talk and themes and stuff, but I don't think that it has like any nudity. I don't know, but there's a lot of perverse language. It's a strange movie. It's weird. I felt like it was a little bit too long. There were some cool things in it. You would think with this amazing cast that this movie would just be incredible. But I mean, and it turns out, in the end, it's like, it's okay. I mean, I've been watching movies with Cher as an actress. I know that my mom used to really like Cher. And, I like her music. She's a good musician. I think she was a good actress in Silkwood and The Mask. Silkwood's probably one of my favorites. I like The Mask, and I bought a few of her other movies that I never knew about. She has one with Nicolas Cage, which I was trying to think of the name of it earlier. I couldn't remember, but it's a good movie. I can't even remember the name of that one. Another one that's called Mermaids, where she's a mom and it's about a family and stuff. It's pretty good. And then there's like The Witches of Eastwick. And I know she's made some other ones too. And I know she was really recently in this burlesque movie, which really doesn't look very good to me at all. I don't think that I'd be a fan of that movie at all. Even worse than this one. But I mean, this is a good movie. It's okay. I was glad that I saw it. Is it something I want to watch again right away? Like, not really. It was so he seduces the women. He ends up getting them all seduced, and there's this Christian woman who has nobody can like remember his name, and she remembers his name and she says it, and then she like vomits and falls, or she falls down the stairs or whatever. Not vomits, that's later on. She has these intuitions or whatever that he's the devil or he's evil. He's came to impregnate these women to spread his evil, to have children, and to have even more evil in the world. So he moves into this mansion, takes them all to the mansion and stuff, and there's weird things that happen in the movie, like they float and they're playing tennis, and the tennis scene was kind of annoying, where the ball stops midair or slows down, and you wonder, like, are they doing it or is he doing it? I don't really get it, and I still don't know if I really understand it, because in the end they're like witches and they want to stop him. They leave him and he gets really angry, and he tries to use like magic or whatever illusions to get him back or whatever. Like, he asks them one night like what all their worst fear is or their nightmares, and he records it, and Cher's character says that she's like covered in snakes and stuff. So like when they all leave him, like he does these things to them, and like she gets covered in snakes, and they all come to him. And anyways, they want to end up getting rid of him, so they make like a voodoo doll, and they're shoving like needles through it, and he ends up turning into this huge monster by the end of the movie, and they cast him out basically. But they do have his children in the end. So yeah, spoilers in this too. But they talk about how Jack Nicholson was like nutty in The Shining, and like, yeah, he's crazy in this movie too. But there's something about this movie, like I said, it went on too long. You kind of wondering, like, why do I even care about this by the end of it? But so I guess you don't really get connected to any of the characters. I don't know. It had some special effects and stuff, It did have vomiting. That Christian woman ended up vomiting, and he vomits in the church and stuff. And there's something about eating cherries. Like one of them eats cherries, and then like they'll make someone like vomit stuff, and I don't know. It was what it was. It's the worst Cher movie that I've seen so far. But like I said, it's not horrible, but it's weird, and it's like, if I was going to rate it out of 10, it'd be like 5 or maybe 6 or something. I usually want to rate things too high, but I can't say it's like total garbage, but it's not anything great like it should be with that cast, really. I don't know what else to say about it. So we watched the 2018 Halloween movie, which I think is great. I think it's better than the Halloween Kills movie. But they're making a trilogy out of that, so they really got to save it with the third one. But, I could watch the 2018 one again and again. And, it has a good ending and stuff. I figured my mom would kind of like that, and I think I don't know. Maybe it's something that maybe women would like more because, like the guy to be evil. And so, I don't know. That's not the reason, that I didn't like it, though, really. There are other movies that are like feminist movies that I really don't like. It didn't really strike me as that, but I don't know. And we watched Willy's Wonderland. Now, I was wondering if I should save that one or the Babadook for the last. Well, I'll talk about the Undertaker's little short film thing for wrestling. I think it was pretty cool. Even non-wrestling fans might like that. It's the New Day. These 3 wrestlers go to the Undertaker's mansion. They want to have his urn, and they go in. He lets them in and then like traps them in there, and then you get choices of what rooms they go into and what they do, and it was really well. Like, it was entertaining, and the quality of the video was really good, and so it was a fun little thing. And me and my mom actually made the good choices to the end, so I think it's pretty easy to make the right choices. I wonder what there was a little bit of creepy stuff in there they threw in there, like some traps, so they would get the fog started coming from the floor, and they're like, that's the Undertaker fog, and they didn't want to touch it. And then like a giant Undertaker like forms in the fog, like behind Xavier Woods, and it was kind of cool. I thought, maybe it's just because I'm an Undertaker fan, I'm a wrestling fan, but I feel like even people who aren't into it might enjoy it. Be like, yeah, it's cheesy, but it was really short and it was cool. Like, choose your own path, and so that was fun. But those Treehouse Simpsons episodes, I love those. I watched 4 and 5, the old ones, because I was reading like what are some of the best ones of all time, and they say like 5 is, and that's the one where they do like The Shining with Homer. And that was great. There were some good ones, and then there was one with the cafeteria where they're like eating the kids for the food in the cafeteria. Like they have no room in like detention for kids anymore. They're all getting in detention. So like, how do we make room or whatever? And like they need food, so they're like, we don't have any food in the cafeteria. So like, well, they put one and one together, and they started turning the kids in the food. And it gets down to where there's only like 4 kids in the class or something, and they know like what's going on. They're like, we don't want to be next. I don't know. Bart and Lisa go to Marge, and they're like telling her what's going on, and she's like, well, I can't always like stand up for you kids. You got to stand up for yourself. She's like, go to the teacher and tell them like, no, I will not be your food or something. And they're like, oh. So Willy Wonderland's kind of like a Five Nights at Freddy's knockoff, I guess. Five Nights at Freddy's is like something that's popular over the last decade or something. I don't know how long it's been around. I don't really know anything about it, really, except for think of like Chuck E. Cheese, how like they have mascots and stuff, and even like how McDonald's used to have like big mascots like the Hamburglar and stuff. I guess Five Nights at Freddy's, I think it's like a pizza place, and it's based on how robotic animal mascots, but they're like evil. And I don't know if they're like possessed by the devil or whatever, but I don't know if it was like a cell phone game first or what, but it got really popular, whatever it was. And I remember like going to Hot Topic and, clothing stores, and they're selling like Five Nights at Freddy's t-shirts and Five Nights at Freddy's wallets. And I thought it was so stupid. But they made a PlayStation VR game that I have and I've streamed on here. And they say, that's one of the scariest games on the PSVR. And it is, and I like it a lot. So that made me appreciate Five Nights at Freddy's. And whatever it is, it's exploded into popularity, and for like horror fans, I guess. I don't know, but this movie is kind of like that with Nicolas Cage. He plays this character who never talks throughout the entire movie. Well, at the beginning, he's driving his fast car. He hits like a spike strip. Well, he gets like towed and can't, tells him the money. We don't have any ATMs. We don't have internet or whatever. He's like, I know a way that you can make some money in a place where you can stay for the night, and you can work off, your pay, what you owe me, whatever. So they take him to this pizza place called Willy's Wonderland, and they're like, all you have to do is clean up this, and then in the morning, your vehicle will be fixed and you can go. And so he really wants his vehicle on the road, so he agrees to it. And he doesn't talk the whole time throughout this movie. So he like nods his head. He's got like, a beard and sunglasses. And Nicolas Cage is like 56 or something now. Like he just made this movie in 2020. But a lot of people don't like Nicolas Cage because, they say he's Cage in every movie. So I really like Raising Arizona. I liked that movie where he was with Cher, and there's a lot of other ones, and I know there's some that are kind of stinkers. I remember going and seeing Ghost Rider in the theater, and it was kind of like, not so great, but maybe that's not even his fault. And that's what I'm thinking. For one, I'm thinking, that's why he's good in these like recent horror movies that he's done, because they don't require like really good acting or anything. You just need a hero or something, and they don't have to be amazing, because what do you want him to be good in a horror movie? There can be like excellent horror movies, like The Exorcist or Alfred Hitchcock movies or whatever. They can be amazing, whatever, an interesting plot, and you don't really need a lot. So anyway, I'm talking about Mandy and Color Out of Space, which were pretty similar because they had like the same producer. And I love those movies. And so I saw that he made Willy's Wonderland, and it was kind of different. It wasn't like colorful and artsy and stuff like them. Maybe a little bit, but not the same. But it has to deal with these killer animatronics or whatever, giant robot mascots for this pizza place. There's a handful of them. Well, they lock him in there. He starts cleaning everything. And, one of them tries to start attacking him or whatever. They attack him like one at a time. Well, he's like this ultimate badass type or whatever. So he fights them, and he ends up killing them and like breaking them their heads off and stuff. And so he's putting them in trash bags by the door, and he just continues cleaning. Like all he cares about is getting the job done. He'll take a break, and he always takes a break and drinks the soda that he has and plays this pinball machine, after he finds that and cleans it off. He's always taking breaks, and it just always shows him just slamming down these sodas and playing the machine. And then he'll go back to cleaning, and then one of them tries to attack him, and then he rips him apart. So the effects are pretty good. They're not bad. I don't know if this was ever in theaters. It's probably like a straight to DVD movie. There's all these kids that are involved. There's a lot of story to it and a lot of lore. And there's these kids. So it's placed in similar manner to be sacrificed. they set spike strips and they blow out their tires or whatever, and then they have them come to the place just like they did with Nicolas Cage. So there's a girl when he shows up that wants to burn the whole place down. She's like dumping it in gasoline, and they find her and arrest her. They throw her in this trailer, and this female cop puts her in a trailer, leaves her there with a bucket to go potty in or whatever. It's like, okay, it's weird. Well, you find out this backstory about how this pizza place was popular and they had a lot of kids there and they had birthday parties there, but the owner and everybody who employed there were basically like rapists and murderers and child molesters, and so they were like killing kids. Well, one day, like, they got busted. Finally, the police came and like shut down their operation, but they did like a satanic ritual and they all committed suicide. They all, did the Heaven's Gate cult way of going or whatever. They all drank like the Jonestown, whatever. Anyways, they did like a ritual to where they were going to have their souls put into these animatronics to live forever, like like Child's Play, like with Chucky or whatever. So, they tried reopening the place, and then, they started killing people. The animatronics did. And then the animatronics started going through town and killing people like a rampage. So they made a deal with them for them to stay inside the building, and they would feed them and they would bring them like a sacrifice. So the people of the town. So that's an interesting plot to where it's kind of like they wanted to do the right thing because they didn't want like tons of people to be slaughtered. So instead they said, let us bring you people. And they said they chose like the bottom of the totem pole, like, the felons and criminals and stuff, be killed by these people, by these evil animatronics. Well, there was a family that came that got killed or whatever, and they had a daughter, and this daughter, she didn't want to let go, the female police officer, so she kept her, and she kind of adopted her, raised her, and so that's the girl who tried to burn it down. Well, when after she's trying to burn the building down, they capture her. That's at the same time when they're bringing Nicolas Cage in, and so she sees him, and they see each other, they look at each other, she knows like he's the next victim. So she gets her friends, a bunch of her friends come and save her. They, get her handcuffs off, whatever. And they're like, we're going to burn this place down. She's like, first we got to save this guy. I saw that they've got like a new victim in there. We got to save him, and then we're going to burn this place down. So they go in to try to save him. So while he's killing these things, they end up going in there too, and they get involved. And they basically almost all die, except for that girl, I guess. So you see them get killed. I knew it was going to be kind of a fun, cool movie, maybe a little bit of creepiness with the animatronics. There was some creepiness with the lore and stuff, but it wasn't going to be like a scary, scary horror movie. It was really goofy, definitely corny and stuff. But anyway, I thought it was pretty cool. I'm starting to get kind of exhausted now talking about these movies, so I might just move on to the next one. But I thought it was a good movie. I'd definitely watch it again. It's interesting that he never talks throughout the entire movie. I don't know if I've ever seen a movie like that where the main character doesn't talk. In the end, it plays Freebird, which is kind of a cheap pop because everybody loves that song. You could play that song in any movie and it makes it awesome. But it's a cool movie. It was cool. I don't know if I would say it was as good as Mandy or Color Out of Space, because overall those movies were really pretty special, but it was different. And for people who love Five Nights at Freddy's, they should eat that movie up. I mean, unless they just think it's a knockoff and they can't enjoy it because of that or whatever. But otherwise, I would think that, I wonder if they ever tried to make it Five Nights at Freddy's and they couldn't like get the deal or something. I don't know. Anyway. And there's some blood, and I mean, when he kills the animatronics, it's like they have like blood. I don't know if it's really like blood, or if it's like black or whatever. It's kind of dark in there, and he gets covered in it when he's like smashing their heads against the wall and stuff. Some of them talk. They talk to him. I mean, pretty much all of them do. There's some CGI, but it works, like computer animation or whatever. But there's also like practical effects where they're really, I think, people in suits or whatever. Yeah, it's something. So let's talk about The Babadook, which is supposedly one of the scariest, creepiest movies of recent years. It gets compared to The Exorcist a lot. It copied a lot of scenes out of The Exorcist. Now, The Exorcist is way more superior to me. One of the things that makes The Exorcist great, besides just the acting and the cinematography and the sound, the iconic theme song and everything else, the effects are amazing in that movie still. But the whole plot, the religious plot of good versus evil, of God versus the devil, even though, it involves the Roman Catholic Church. I'm not Catholic and everything, but basically, yeah, I mean, God versus the devil, good versus evil, that whole theme is really what makes The Exorcist special. And that's not in The Babadook. But The Babadook is very cool and different. And so I'll talk about how it rips off some scenes from The Exorcist. One, the girl wets herself. This movie involves a single mother and her son, and her husband died in a car crash while he was driving her to give birth to him. So the day that her son was born was the day that her husband died in a car crash, which is really depressing and traumatic. So this movie is very depressing. But it's just her and her son. Her son's always seeing monsters. Her son's different than a lot of other kids, So you think it's just because of all this trauma that he's dealt with. How his father died and everything. Well, so there is a scene in the movie, more towards the end, but he wets himself. And I was thinking about just all of the scenes, how they're similar. It's different, though, because he wets himself because he was scared. And I don't know why the girl wets herself in The Exorcist, really, if that's just when she's already kind of possessed at the beginning, or just, I don't know. That's when you start noticing something's wrong, when they're having the party and she just comes down and pees on the floor. But anyway, but even more, what it takes is, I guess, like how the bed floats and they're like thrashing about, and I think the bed might even float in The Babadook. I don't remember, but they're thrashing about, getting pulled invisibly, through the air. Those effects are really good in The Babadook. Pretty much all the effects in The Babadook are pretty good. There's probably other stuff that I'm going to forget. I mean, it involves another entity, which in the Exorcist, she's talking to Mr. Howdy through the Ouija board. But in this one, it's Mr. Babadook, and he appears from a book that appears all of a sudden. It's like a pop-up book. They turn the page, and it has like poems and things pop up out of the pages. Mr. Babadook is this monster or spirit or whatever that's dark, shadowy, wears like a top hat. It makes you kind of think of like Jack the Ripper or something, because he has like a top hat and like a cape, but he has like kind of like claws as fingers or something, like Freddy Krueger. And sometimes he has like the cape like spread out or whatever with the claws. And eyes and sharp teeth, but it's just a really shadowy figure. And the book says stuff like, the more that you deny me, the stronger I'll grow. Let me in. You can't get rid of me. I'm the Babadook. I'll hide in your closet. And it's like you'll hear me knocking, and it's like Duke, 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 Babadook, Duke. That's really eerie and really cool, and I love that about this movie. So this movie did seem kind of long too. There's a lot to it. I know there's other things I'm thinking that they used, like from The Exorcist, but I can't think right now. I don't know. Some of those scenes, though, there was vomiting, I guess, too. I mean, that could be in a lot of movies. That was in the the Witches of Eastwick, but there's the pea soup. It's a little bit more iconic in The Exorcist, but I don't know. Where do I go about this movie? Like I said, he's always saying that he sees monsters and stuff. Okay, like in the basement, they have his father's memorabilia locked, like in the basement. Like it's like a sanctuary for their father, his father, like her husband, whatever. So he's always seeing monsters and stuff, and he gets her to read him bedtime stories. And one night she pulls out this book. Oh, where'd you find this book? He's like, oh, it was like sitting over there or whatever. I don't even know where it came from. And as she's reading it, it's creepy, and it's saying, I'm going to hide and scare you and stuff like this. And, you're going to wish that you were dead. And the pop-up part of it, the shadowy figures like popping out of the book, and there's like horrifying like images like popping out of the book. It's like, oh my God. And I'm thinking, she's thinking this is just going to spur on her son even more. And she's like, we're done for the night. Like she just shuts it down. And well, you start to get scenes at night where they're sleeping, and like they'll hear like the door open or something. So you get these creepy things, like that would scare you at night, and you're starting to wonder, what's going to happen next. And I can't remember every single detail right now off the top of my head, but it gets worse. And she ends up like seeing the book again. She ends up ripping the pages out and like burning it. And she tells some people about it, and like next thing you know, like the book is back. It's taped together, but there's like a new message on it. So it's like even creepier. Well, it ends up like visiting him and ends up letting him in, and she starts seeing like visions of her killing her son and stuff. And like in the book, like when it comes back like together, it shows like her like strangling her son or like stabbing him or whatever. It's like, oh my God. So I'll just jump to different things, but at the end, like it ends up getting inside of her, and she does try to kill her son. I won't spoil all the ending and stuff right now, but it was a great movie. It was a top notch. I think that all those movies that I watched, I think, Rear Window was just a far more superior movie. But if you're going for something that's really creepy, because, Rear Window was suspenseful, but it wasn't really scary. But The Babadook had some genuinely eerie, scary stuff in it, and I can see why it received the hype that it did, because it took a lot of ideas from The Exorcist that were good, and it had its own twists and its own story to it, and it's pretty unique. Out of all the horror movies I've seen a lot of ghost stories, or I don't know, say it's like a curse movie. It leaves a lot open too, and that's the thing. And there's a lot of things for you to think about while you're watching this movie. They have like therapists involved, and there's a lot of does she resent having her son because of the way that he is? He causes problems with other kids. He's very annoying to her, and so you have some interesting combinations of things going on. Psychologically, a lot of things to think about, and you can have different theories in the movie of like what the Babadook is or represents. But yeah, there's some creepy stuff. It makes you think of like The Ring too, kind of. Babadook, like The Grudge, like it says its name like that too. It talks sometimes. Babadook. Anyway, I would definitely suggest that movie, Willy's Wonderland. All of them were decent. The Churches of Eastwick was kind of like, eh. And The Babadook is an Australian movie. I forgot to mention that, but I mean, you don't really get a lot of thick accent or anything. I mean, you don't really recognize it. It's not just made in the USA, but it is an Australian movie. And the way that it's filmed is really great. There was a little bit of CGI where I'm like, I don't really, where this thing is crawling on the ceiling and you can tell it's kind of like out of place a little bit, but it wasn't really horrible because it's just shadowy and stuff. But a lot of the effects of the monster and different things were really good. The effects were, like the kids, there's a part where they think that they got rid of him, and then the kid's like, you can't get rid of the Babadook, and then like he just gets like sucked like up the stairs or whatever, like through the air, like just backwards. And that looks really cool and creepy. So I definitely like to watch it again, and it's a movie that you can dissect and think about a lot of different things. So anyway, that's what I did on Halloween. So it was really good. Watched all those movies with my mom. So let me know what you guys think. God bless, and see you later.